ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD, and I'm here to bring you guys another set of games from the IPL5 Korean qualifier. And I'm proud to say that today I'll be casting a Terran versus Terran. Whoa, HD casting a TVT. That doesn't usually happen, but I am going to be casting a TVT here, and it is going to be between MMA as the red Terran at the bottom left-hand corner, previous guy that I casted versus Zenio a couple days ago. And he's going to be the red Terran in the bottom left. His opponent is going to be the legendary, the fearless NSH.Jjakji. And Jakji right now, many consider to be one of the best Terrans in the world. His TVT especially, this is the reason why I picked this match, is because his TVT is absurdly good. It is, I would actually say, maybe the best Terran versus Terran in the world right now. Maybe MVP obviously has always kind of held that title, but Jakji, I think, a real contender to be one of the best Terrans in the world, especially TVT right now. So this should be a good matchup, and it makes it a little more spicy because MMA has been slumping a little bit recently, you know? The star player from Slayers, I mean, we've got Puzzle and well, they used to have Tasia, but we've got Puzzle and all the other good players, but I think MMA has always kind of been the star, and lately, unfortunately for Slayers and unfortunately for MMA, I think he's been slumping a little bit. So it makes the match a little interesting here because will MMA be able to take down this Terran juggernaut Jakji? This should make for an interesting matchup. Now, TVT on this map, this is Entombed Valley, it's a big map. I would expect nothing less than a full-on macro game here. Both players are getting identical builds here, both getting the gas at pretty much the same time. So we are going to have at least a gas coming up here. And a lot of avenues here for Terrans. You know, they can go right into, obviously, the factory, into Starport. Banshee play is still very popular. Some Terrans prefer not even to go Banshees. They want to take control of the skies right away, and they go with Vikings. There's many possibilities when you play TVT. You can even go Mass Bio, you can go Medevac Drop, you can go Mech. You know, Biomech, that's also a very popular strategy as well. So this is a very fun match to watch because of the different things that can happen. And it's very hard to predict what a Terran player is going to do because there's so many things that they can do. So we'll see right here. It looks like we do have a factory coming up for MMA. And I would imagine, based on the spawn locations, both players have already kind of found out, hey, this is where the other players spawned. They know exactly what's going on here. I would imagine that MMA at least is going to go right into Starport and get out some Banshee, maybe to try to control the map a little bit. It's possible he can go right into Vikings as well. And there's a difference. You know, when you go Banshee, you're looking to do a little bit of damage. It's a big investment, but usually you can get in there and get some good damage done. When you go Vikings, you're looking more towards the mid game. You're looking more towards controlling the skies, getting your tanks out on the field, and playing that kind of air control or for spotting vision for your siege tanks. So also it's good to defend medevac drops as well. And it looks like this SCV here is going to, wow, nice control by MMA. Pulls it out at the very last second just to make sure that it stays alive. He can scout for a little bit further. But right now, MMA is going right into a starport. He has 2 gases up, and he's got a tech lab coming, so most definitely going to be a Banshee opening from MMA. Jakji also has 2 gases, but instead of going for the tech lab on the factory, what we have here is Hellions being produced by Jakji, and there's a reactor on the barracks as well. So Jakji is going to go for a medevac drop here, and MMA is going to go for a Banshee harass. This is 2 conflicting styles, and the important thing to note here is, did MMA see that reactor? He did not. So very good control by the Marines by Jakji, but Jakji is going to miss it here, and the SCV gets inside. Oh, that's such a big scout by MMA, because now he knows what Jakji is doing. When you see a barracks and reactor here, obviously there's different things that Terran can do, but at this point, if there's the barracks still producing reactored Marines, most likely it's going to be a medevac drop, and MMA should know what's going on now. Now, he'll probably opt to send the Banshee out to harass, and then make a Viking after this Banshee and leave the Marines at home to deflect the attack at the front door. He's also making a bunker at the front as well. That's a wise decision. He doesn't have the production capacity that Jakji has, so it's a good idea here to be defensive and just be extra safe. And look at this, we actually have the medevac energy upgrade coming here, but this is actually not... It is a real upgrade, it exists, but there's no plans here for MMA to complete this upgrade. What he's planning to do, actually, is try to psych out Jakji. If Jakji scans, Jakji might think that Cloak is coming. In fact, Jakji probably would, because there's a Banshee coming out, and there's a Tech Lab most of the time. You know, that's a cloak upgrade for Banshee. So what MMA is trying to do here is catch his opponent off guard and maybe force him to overcommit to anti-detection, anti-air defenses. And now Jjakji's going to come in. He's going to see that Tech Lab researching, but he's just going to go for the other Tech Lab and basically deny siege tanks from coming out for some time. One tank was able to pop out. And Jjakji looks like he saw the cloak coming, or what he thinks was cloak, and is now going to pull back and play a little bit more safe. And you know what? Yeah, he's going to try to intercept that Banshee by sending the medevac over to the left and falling back all of his units. And he's even got a Raven coming out. So, you know what? I don't think that fake out from MMA really hurt Jjakji, because Jjakji didn't throw out any missile turrets or anything crazy like that. He already had a Raven on the way. But what it did do for MMA was it allowed him some breathing room. Actually, that attack could have done a lot of damage if Jjakji wanted to go ahead and stick around. If he wanted to, he actually could have set up a contain over outside of MMA's base. Thankfully, I think that cloak upgrade, the psych out upgrade, helped MMA, get him a little bit of breathing room. Now he's going to be able to get the natural command center landed down as he's building it right now, and play a more macro game. So it kind of helped out in a way, but a little interesting here that Jjakji is not getting a command center. This is very weird. Jjakji still hasn't thrown down a CC yet. He's still operating off of one base, and now he's actually hunting for that Banshee, bringing the Raven along as well, because he doesn't know if Cloak was finished or not. But this is very curious that Jjakji has not gotten a base yet, and I wonder if he's just going to stay on one base and try to all-in MMA at this point. Another thing to note here is, that Banshee is going to make it back home, which is big. The Banshee is great in the mid to late game in tank wars, because it is a unit that can pick off tanks, assuming you have air superiority. But one thing to note here is MMA, despite him getting another command center here, and he's got the macro, he will have the macro on his side, he didn't really do that much damage with the Banshee. And he invested gas into that unit. You might think, well, Jjakji invested into a Raven, but the Raven's kind of different. It accumulates energy over time, and a fully loaded Raven is very useful for PDDs and for auto turrets. PDDs stop Marauders from hitting your tanks, and they stop Viking wars in your favor. So look at this now. Jjakji, with that Raven coming out with the rest of his army, I think really is going to go all in on one base here. At least it's going to look to set up a contain outside his opponent's base, and this is a big play here from Jjakji. Still has not thrown down another command center yet. MMA has a siege up, and now it's Viking on Viking wars, but the auto turrets come down from the Raven, helping to deal frontal damage and absorbing tank shots. MMA in a lot of trouble, but he got 2 more tanks coming down the ramp. It's so thankful here that MMA had siege mode ready already. If he didn't, he would have been in a lot of trouble, but thankfully for him, he has been able to set up outside his base. Got to blow through that auto turret first, and MMA should be able to hold on the grounds at the front of his base. This is going to be a pretty tense situation, though, because remember, Jjakji still hasn't thrown up a base yet. And all Jjakji wants to do here is, he doesn't have to end the game right away. What he can do is actually stranglehold MMA on one base and not allow him to capture that second command center. So behind the scenes, then Jjakji will be able to throw up his own CC, and he'll be able to capture his own base and then start to kind of transition away from this aggression into a more macro game. But it's all going to come down to these Viking wars here. If you can get enough air control, use spot vision for the tanks, allowing them to get that one extra range so you can blow through the enemy tanks. And the Banshees are also going to be huge as well here, because MMA has air control. He can actually pick off tanks with that Banshee he made in the beginning of the game, and now the Banshee really paying off for itself. But Jjakji repairs with those 4 SCVs. Oh, what a splendid job those 4 SCVs did at keeping that tank alive. And because of that, I think Jjakji will be able to continue to hold on to this contain at the front of his opponent's base. And Jjakji says, okay, well, I've got you contained now. I'm just going to throw up a command center of my own. We can see on the production tab, a CC is on the way. MMA actually lifted off his original CC, or not original, but the macro one, and decided to land it over on the right side. So it's a little hidden. I like this position, though, because now you can drop mules and get a much-needed influx of resources. To break out of this situation, you either need to medevac your way out of it, or you need to build up a larger army and then break through the front. And if MMA is going to hope to break through the front, he needs to get that CC up and drop some meals. I like the position on this Marine as well. MMA right now thinking, wait a minute, Jjakji still hasn't grabbed his base yet? well then, if I can hold on here, if I can break this contain, I'm ahead in this game. And with that Marine, he sees that there's nothing claiming that expansion spot right now, so it is really going to come down to these Viking Wars and who can win out the fight. And now Jakji has a Banshee of his own. Uh-oh, that's problems for MMA because he cannot lose this tank. He is going to lose a tank. And now the PDD also comes out as well, and PDD allows a Terran player in Terran versus Terran Wars to advance his front line. And we can see Jakji here can advance the tanks a little bit closer under the cover of the PDD. As he continues to control the skies here with his Vikings, he's baiting those Vikings back into the range of the point defense drone, and now he can bring his Vikings in and he can slaughter a couple more. And now the air control really going in favor of MMA. MMA knows it. He's trying to desperately drop meals over on the right-hand side. It's really lucky that Jakji hasn't checked that bottom right yet, because if he did, he could just force MMA back again into a one-base situation. Speaking of one-base situation, Jakji here microing so hard, doesn't realize that his CC has been done for so long. Needs to actually land that CC over at the natural so he can get an eco advantage. And MMA right now not even mining with all of his SCVs, actually has half of them not mining just for repair duty. I agree with that. You don't want to oversaturate right now. You don't really have that much money left to work with anyways. But MMA, man, he has got to either get a medevac out and drop, or maybe wait for stim. He's got stim coming right now, and what he can try to do is stim up and run everything down the ramp. But the problem is, they'll funnel through that ramp, and those tanks are going to have an absolute heyday. So that could be kind of disastrous for MMA. I don't know, man. It's really down to two options now. Win the tank wars, bust through the front, or go for a medevac backstab attack. Thankfully for him, he still hasn't been scouted at the bottom right. And now Jakji, look at this, finally lands that orbital command over at the natural expansion. So now the longer MMA waits, the really further behind he falls. Jakji is just running the show right now, and he's coming in even closer here with the Vikings and Banshee. If he can pick off a reactor core on any of these buildings, that so hurts MMA and his ability to win this game. More tanks coming out here. Jakji really running the gauntlet. Has more SCVs coming over to the natural expansion as well. So this is just a really, really solid Terran versus Terran, showing how to contain an enemy Terran player and play the tank wars and still kind of transition into a more macro game after being on one base for so long. MMA, as you guys saw in the top left, they're suffering 5,000 to 4,200. So really, in terms of units lost, so he really needs to think up something here, and he finally has a medevac. He can do a little bit of harass through the backside here, but he's not paying attention with these Marines. He's too focused at the front door, and now MMA, he's got to get his multitasking on point because this is his one opportunity. He's got to pick off that tank first, and then go for the SCVs. Oh, I wasn't paying attention, and now the tank has been allowed to siege up, and MMA's opportunity here to get some damage done to come back in this game might have closed. He comes around the backside, but now Jakji is aware of these Marines and you know, has set up his tank already. MMA has to load up his Marines and run away. And back at home, man, the tanks and Vikings continue to inch closer and closer to the home. MMA is in a lot of trouble here. There's a PDD right over his ramp. He has Marines behind their ledge, though. He can pick off a couple of SCVs, but reinforcements coming out from Jakji. And that is going to shut down that attack. But it looks like, you know what? It looks like Jakji has decided to pull back everything. Sound the horns, full retreat. And that's the thing about medevac drops, man. You can not only do a little bit of damage, and even if you don't do any, you can force the entire Terran army to go back home. And watch, look at how Jakji has pulled everything back on the mini-map. And now all of a sudden, thanks to that lone medevac, he's going to be able to re-secure the natural. He's actually lifted off the orbital command because there's a Marine there. But he's going to be able to secure a natural, and maybe, you know, he's got some breathing room now. Maybe he can try to climb back into this game, but, you know, for the last 2 minutes or so, Jakji has been mining out of a natural fully, whereas MMA really hasn't. And I don't even know what the hell this orbital command is doing. It's trying to decide if it wants to land or float in the air indefinitely, but MMA needs to make up his mind right now. The longer he's not mining, the further behind he falls. Currently at 63 supply to 107. And, oh man, I really think Jakji, just being such a monster in Terran versus Terran, he has double the army supply right now that MMA has. And he's about to finish Stim Pack and +1 weapons. You know, MMA actually has Stim Pack and +1 already, but that's just such a slight upgrade advantage that's about to be nullified. And remember, Jakji has like double the army here. I think it's safe to call at this point. This is pretty much good game. Even should this Banshee get inside and do a lot of damage. Even if it's half as good as the last medevac, it's not going to be enough. And I think MMA is just going to try to buy some time here with this Banshee. But look at this huge army in the middle here from Jakji. That army is just chilling right now, puffing on their cigarettes, pondering the meaning of life, contemplating the Higgs boson. Jakji has a lot of luxury right now. MMA doesn't. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And all that pressure here to perform, I think, on the shoulders of that Banshee. And I don't know. It's a bleak situation right now as the army comes in. And MMA is going to try to send this Banshee in to pull the army back one more time, but I doubt Jakji will gratify him with that. And he's going to actually send Marines in to pick that off. So that is really the nail in the coffin here. The contained game from Jakji, too difficult for MMA to handle. And now even drops coming in the back of the main base. And MMA here shortly to be the loser of this first game of the set, but it is not over yet. We're going to have a best of 3 here from IPL5's regional qualifier. Looks like that orbital command immediately going to drop. And there is a GG from MMA. So very technical Terran versus Terran game there with Jakji taking the victory, going one base, containing MMA for such a long time, and then eventually converting over to a more macro style. But by that time, MMA was so far behind, he had no chance of winning. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in game 2. This is HD StarCraft signing out.